Hi, this is Wendy Lightheart, and in this lesson we're going to look at how to add real numbers. So first, recall the real number line. On the real number line we have 0 in the center, and then to the right of 0 we have positive numbers, and to the left of 0 we have negative numbers. Imagine a rock climber starts out at an elevation of 5 meters below sea level, so that would be represented by -5 on the real number line, and then ascends 8 meters. So ascends means he's increasing his elevation, so he is adding 8 meters to his current elevation of 5 meters below sea level, and we want to know what is his elevation now. So if we're adding a positive number, we're going to move in the positive direction, which is to the right. So we start at -5 and we move to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units to the right. And notice that we end up at +3. So +3 would be above sea level, and so his elevation is 3 meters above sea level. So the math problem that we just solved using the real number line is we found that -5 plus +8 is equal to 3. Suppose we want to add a negative number instead. For example, let's find the sum 4 plus -9. Now when we added a positive number last time, remember we moved in the positive direction, which is to the right. So as you would expect, to add a negative number, we'll do just the opposite. We will move to the left whenever we're adding a negative number. So when you add a negative number, you move in the negative direction, which is to the left. So we're going to start at 4, and we're going to move 1 unit to the left, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we end up at -5. Thus 4 plus -9 is equal to -5. So we're going to look at those steps again for adding real numbers using the real number line, but first let's review an important concept called the absolute value. By definition, the absolute value of a number is the distance that number is from 0 on the real number line. And the notation we use is that the absolute value of a number n is denoted by n in between 2 vertical bars. So for example, the absolute value of 5 is 5, since the number 5 is 5 units from 0 on the real number line. And the absolute value of -3 is +3, since -3 is 3 units from 0 on the real number line. So note that the absolute value of a positive number is itself, and you can find the absolute value of a negative number by simply stripping off its negative sign. Now let's review how to add real numbers using the number line. So let A and B represent real numbers. Then to find the sum A plus B using the number line, we first start at A, and then if B is positive, we'll move B units to the right. If B is negative, then we'll move the absolute value of B units to the left. And if B is 0, of course, we'll just stay at A. Then our last step is that the number where we finish on the number line represents the sum of A and B, or the result of A plus B. So now pause the video for a moment and see if you can find the following sums using the real number line. And then when you hit play again, I'll reveal the answers. Let's see how you did. -2 plus -5 is -7. -4 plus +6 is +2. 7 plus -9 is -2. And lastly, -3 plus 0 is -3. Now let's look at another way you can think of adding real numbers using what we call an ion model. Chemical atoms or molecules contain charged particles called ions. Some ions have a positive charge, while others have a negative charge. Each pair of ions, consisting of one positively charged ion and one negatively charged ion, results in a neutral charge we call 0. Suppose we want to use this model to find the sum 4 plus -6. So this is how it works. Here's our atom or molecule, and this atom or molecule has 4 positive ions, and then we're going to add to that 6 negative ions. So this represents 4 plus -6. Now we're going to use the fact that each pair that consists of one positive and one negative results in a neutral charge. So if we combine this negative and positive, that becomes neutral. This positive and negative becomes neutral. And this pair becomes neutral. And this pair becomes neutral. Now we've run out of positives, so we have no more pairs, and we're left with 2 negative ions. And so this is the net result of adding 4 positive ions and 6 negative ions. And so this tells us that 4 plus -6 is equal to -2. I think this model is really useful for trying to add and subtract trying to add positive and negative numbers, and that really it has to do with the net result. So if you have +4 plus -6, you can think of it as having 4 positives and 6 negatives, and there are 2 more negatives than there are positives, so your result net charge would be -2. Now let's use this model again to find the sum of -4 plus -6. So here is our atom or molecule, and we start out with 4 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to add to that 6 negative charged ions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now notice that since we're adding -4 and -6, there are no positives to pair up with any of these negatives, and so our result net charge is that we have 10 negatives. So when we add -4 and -6, we end up with -10. So I like to think of it as I have 4 negatives and I add 6 more negatives to that. That gives me a total of 10 negatives, or in other words, -10. Now, you probably have noticed the pattern so far, so we're going to come up with a couple rules that help us remember what those patterns were so that we don't always have to go back to the real number line or the ion model to do our adding or subtracting of real numbers. In fact, it would be difficult to do the ion model if you were working with decimal numbers or fraction numbers, for example. And on the real number line, it would be very difficult with really large numbers to use the real number line. So we're going to have to get away from those models eventually. And these are the patterns that we need to use. So when we're adding two numbers having the same sign, we first add the absolute values of those numbers together. and then we use the common sign as the sign of the sum, or the sign of our answer. So for example, if we're adding -3 and -7, those both have the same sign. Those both are negative numbers. And so we're going to add their absolute values together first. So that would be adding 3 plus 7, which gives us 10. And now we'll use the common sign as the sign of the sum. So our answer becomes -10. And again, you can think of this as we have 3 negatives, we add 7 more negatives to that, and that will give us a total of 10 negatives. Let's look at another example, this time with some decimal numbers. So we have -3.2, and we're going to add to that -1.5. So they're both negative numbers. So we're going to add their absolute values together. 3.2 plus 1.5 equals 4.7. So that's going to be the number part of our answer. And then remember that we use the common sign, which is a negative sign, as the sign of our answer. So our answer becomes -4.7. Now let's look at the rule for adding two numbers having opposite signs. So instead of adding their absolute values, when they have opposite signs, we need to subtract the smaller absolute value from the larger absolute value. So basically we're finding the difference between the two absolute values. Then we use the sign of the number with the greater absolute value as the sign of our sum. So for example, if we're adding -13 and +7, notice that those two numbers have opposite signs. So we're going to take their absolute values and find the difference between them. So 13 minus 7 gives us 6. So 6 will be the number part of our answer. And then the sign will match the sign of the number that has the greater absolute value. So -13 has a greater absolute value, and since it's negative, that means the sum is also negative. Let's look at another example. Let's add -46 to +18. These both have opposite signs again. So we're going to find the difference between their absolute values. So we take 46 minus 18 and we get 28. And then since -46 has the bigger absolute value and it's a negative number, that means our sum must also be negative. So our answer becomes -28. Now let's use what we just learned to simplify some algebraic expressions with like terms. So for example, we want to first simplify -12x plus 5x. So remember, to do this, what you want to do is take the coefficients, which are the numbers that are in front of those x's, and perform the addition between those two numbers. And then you'll just place an x on that result to get your final answer. So we take -12 plus 5, those are the coefficients added together. So notice that those have opposite signs. So we find the difference between 12 and 5, which is 7. And then since -12 is the bigger absolute value, then it will become a -7. So we end up with -7x. Here's another example. This time we're going to add -12x plus -5x. So we're going to do the same thing, take the two coefficients, -12 and -5, and add them together. These two coefficients have the same sign. They're both negative. So we're going to add their absolute values to get 17, and then since they're both negative, the 17 will also be negative. So we end up with a -17x. That's it for today. We'll see you later. Bye.